Hey folks, and welcome to the Daily Ratings Podcast. It's a show where each week we're going to be sitting down with Vincent Daly to get his thoughts on the latest movies he's been watching. Both older films and new releases. And don't worry, there's no spoilers. Vince will give a brief review of the movie, share some thoughts, and of course, then rate the film. The daily ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. On today's show, Vince will be rating and reviewing. We have from 1948, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, directed by John Huston. We then have The Alamo from 1960, starring and directed by John Wayne, the Duke himself. And then we're jumping to theaters for our new release film. We are covering Jurassic World Rebirth, directed by Gareth Edwards. So it's going to be a great show, folks. Let's get Vincent Daly in here, see what he has to say. Stay tuned and enjoy the show. Mr. Vincent Daly, how are we doing over there, my friend?
Tommy boy, how's it going?
It's going okay. On this side of the table, how was your week of movies? We got dinosaurs. We've got Gold Fever. We spanned some decades.
Dinosaurs on screen, dinosaur actors.
David Crockett. We got John Wayne Crockett on our hands here.
Very interesting week. There's no even relative chance I could possibly, string together with an alternate title.
No alternate title for the week?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
What's the matter with you? Okay, all right.
But really excited, honestly, to cover these. More and more now being knee-deep in Western Month. Really just happy to watch some of these movies.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
absolutely.
It's fun to be getting in these. We're doing The Treasure of Sierra Madre, which is, I'm glad we're covering because it's really well received.
It's a big one.
It is a big one.
Yeah.
Now we'll see how good it holds up.
Yeah.
So I watched all of these too, by the way.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. These are
saw
all
JW4 in theaters.
we
together.
did see it together.
Yeah.
These are all over 2 hours. Any opening notes? Any thoughts for the week? Or
No, not really. And to be honest, I'm looking on the horizon. We got Superman week coming up, so there's just like a lot of movie watching I have to do.
Okay.
So,
We're dusting this episode underneath the table.
Yeah, already.
Push it underneath the carpet. Well, I mean, okay, let's jump back to 1948.
Yeah.
This is The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, directed by John Huston, starring Humphrey Bogart.
Yep.
Big name. I don't know if I've...
Big name little guy. This guy is a little
scrawny.
Short stack. Yeah.
He's a little scrawny. Was he short? I don't know. Was he short? He was
He
thin.
looked short on
Kind of had that depression thinness about
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
But Humphrey Bogart, it also has... Well, John Huston directing, and then who was his dad who's in the film?
Walter Huston.
Walter Huston, that's right.
Which I thought was his brother, but yeah, it's his dad.
Yes, very different.
Yeah, very different.
And then there's a third main actor in this as well. What's his name? Tim Holt.
Yes.
So let's jump back into it. It's, like I said, how long is it? 2 hours and 6 minutes. I think I know why this was on your list because it's so critically praised. I mean, I'll still ask the question, but overall, get us in to The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Yeah, well, there will be plenty of love for John Wayne this month, but like we mentioned, there's still a growing list of Western movies we still want to cover, and this is a big one. The Treasure of Sierra Madre consistently makes it to the top of many greatest Western lists, if not on lists ranking the greatest films of all time as well. Aside from pairing it this month, our director, John Huston, is also a huge talent I want to explore on the podcast. I believe the only thing we've covered of his on the site is Moby Dick from 1956 and a must-watch to boot.
Yeah, very good score.
Yeah, and seriously, folks, take a look at the movies this guy has made, and you will see a master of the craft, not held down by any genre in the slightest. I mean, this is really an impressive guy. I feel like John Huston, I mean, it's a name that certainly floats around when you hear other directors talking about what maybe inspired them.
Sure.
Like a John Ford or, these names of the past. But seriously, this movie proved, and side by side with Moby Dick from probably first year of the podcast, honestly.
Yeah, that was early on.
Really, really impressive. Consistently impressive as well. I do want to take a moment, though, to talk about the style and tone of this film, because it is really not your average Western. Treasure of the Sierra Madre is described as a neo-Western, which initially feels a bit odd because that's something we have discussed over the podcast as a modern trend.
Right.
We talk about the neo-Western as far as a mix of crime, a mix of just like a Western stylings in a modern atmosphere. But yeah, I saw that it was called a neo-Western. I wasn't really sure what I was walking into, but a couple things have me really happy with calling this a neo-Western and really placing it even side by side to what some of those modern examples are. This taking place in 1925 Mexico was in fact a transitioning late West world. Yes, there might be cars in the city, but once we get out in the wilderness, this world operates as it has for the last century. This is also not your typical heroic cowboy tale. Instead, the gold prospecting core to the plot seems to be used as the perfect lens to view its heavy themes of greed, which distorts our characters as well. But above all else, I think the mix of crime, the mix of swindling and distrust is what makes me agree with calling this a neo-Western. It's a cautionary tale and exactly what we love about modern entries in the subgenre. Not that this is really close to Hell or High Water or something like that we've called a neo-Western before, but that mix of crime, I feel like, is a secret ingredient there,
I think that this is kind of a story in and of itself. That's not a Western story. I just really think it comes down to the landscape, the setting, and where our guys are positioned in. You know what I mean? It's the fact that it revolves around gold and just we're in the Mexican desert and everything like that. It just feels like a Western, therefore it is a Western, even though the story isn't Western-ish, which is what we get a lot of times with the John Wayne films. That's the funny thing about with what we call modern-day Westerns, like a Hell or High Water, where it's just about the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's contemporary. It could be happening in present day.
Yeah.
Now, back then, they are jumping back 20 years from when the film was made, but I'm sure it still has that kind of vibe. It's not your typical or atypical Western.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I don't know, there's something to the crime element being incorporated. There's something to lawlessness being Western, the theme. Maybe that's the key.
That is Western.
Yeah. I think that's what ties it all together. But yeah, really, really interesting. This is not your typical entry here. Based off the book of the same name, Treasure of the Sierra Madre is a gold prospecting story, but also how struggle is a breeding ground for bottomless greed, and what gold will do to even an honest man's eyes. We enter our story with Humphrey Bogart begging for pesos in a Mexican City street. He plays Fred C. Dobbs. Fred C. Dobbs. It's like the amount of times he says that in the movie. Dobbs is a real down and outer, willing to do anything to make a buck, but little does he know how low that will take him. He meets two fellow drifters, a contractor named Curtin, played by Tim Holt, and an old-timer named Howard, played by our director's father, Walter Houston. The three of them end up agreeing to mine for gold together up in the Mexican hills, but from the very start, distrust and paranoia swirls under the hot sun. They might strike it rich pretty easily, but that only draws them in deeper and deeper, from 5K to 25, from a few months to a year, and before too long, the stakes overtake the man. Unlike most Westerns we've covered over the years, I would call this dramatic, I would call this intense, and definitely dark. This is also fits into kind of maybe like a modern or a neo-Western just because of how dark and almost depraved these characters are. At the outset, each of our characters are already a bit crazy. We see Dobbs and Curtin are willing to kill over a paycheck. And Howard shows he's about as kooky as he is wise. I really thought it was going in a very different direction when They're barely up the hill, and both these younger guys are exhausted, and then this like old prospecting kook is like doing like
running
a
up the
jig.
mountain.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I thought this was gonna go in like a Deliverance territory where he's just gonna he takes them up in the wilderness and has their way with them. That is just the start of the slippery slope, and holy shit, Humphrey Bogart escalates everything scary fast.
He's so annoying because he's not him, like the character itself.
The character is off his hinges.
He's playing it great. I mean, Humphrey Bogart is playing this character really well.
Yeah.
But boy, oh boy, it's like, dude, chill out.
Chill out.
Please chill out.
He's being like reassured by his two
oh
partners.
my gosh.
And like he doubles down. He's consistently doubling down.
No, he does not stop.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, this little fella might as well turn into Gollum because of gold. I mean, he starts speaking in the third person
really
and scheming out loud. Again, scary fast. I was like, did I skip something? Did I miss something? Because like he was pretty much a normal dude up until like a very point. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's the Gollum of gold. It's so true.
Yeah, he turned into Gollum. I think it's an incredible performance, though. I think what I loved most is how quickly he really is off the deep end because of how he resembles the stories that were warned of in the beginning, of how gold can tempt even the most honest man's eyes. That line is given to us by Howard, the old-timer. And there's something really true to that. I mean, it's a cautionary tale. There was just something so good to that of how quickly he fell into it, and most importantly, I love how that also gave context to how much lower he is able to sink into the greed. There is really no bottom to this character, and that's why I found it so like phenomenal, great.
Not to mention his assuredness of his own self that he would never become one of those people.
Even while he's losing his mind, like he's still like, no, but you're gonna get one over on me. It's just like, all right, chill out.
Literally chill out. I was just like, oh my God, it keeps going.
But it's an excellent performance by him. I think shockingly at the 1949 Oscars, Bogart doesn't even get a nomination here for this, which I think is a little brutal. I mean, maybe back in the day that was seen as almost unacceptably hammy, but I think it was, again, it's all purpose towards this kind of critique of greed that the movie is after. Believe it or not, though, I mean, I think the real shining story, the real, heartwarming story here is that among the award wins, Walter Huston gets Best Supporting Actor, allowing him to win alongside his son, John, who picks up Best Director and Writer. Just a nice little touch.
That is cool. That is nice. Wait, really was Bogart not nominated at all?
At all. Which is like... interesting.
Wow.
I wonder if his hamminess was
both
distasteful.
Hustons were. That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah. I will say, to the credit of Walter getting this Best Supporting win, I really love this prospecting character. I feel like he had some great lines and great monologues.
I was going to ask, which one is your least favorite of the main three? Because I think they're all kind of really good.
Yeah, I think they're all excellent.
The problem with Bogart is he just gets so annoying. I don't want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And honestly, it had me thinking of Caine Mutiny a little bit because Bogart's in that, and it's more annoying than work. I feel like this worked purely because, again, it was all geared towards this, the message of the character, what he can lose. I'm with you. It's just like at a certain point, is Bogart's type role unreliable nut job or what? But really, it is a watch for his performance. I think Humphrey Bogart, again, one of those old names that you might hear praised by someone you respect in modern day. This one was one to check out to see what chops he really has because boy, does this really move. And really evolve into something that was totally unexpected. Composing the soundtrack here is the legendary Max Steiner, and boy, he does an incredible job at illustrating this kind of wild desire of gold. As you're watching the movie, moments of excitement are always twisted in some way, having kind of tinges of unease, even at the most successful or the most jovial or happy moments in the story. I think a perfect example is when they're first getting some results in their gold mining. It's the music is dramatic. It's kind of uplifting. It's mostly like downturned, though. It's mostly kind of a spiraling type of theme, showing us that, like, well, they might be getting, something they want, but is it really something they need?
Yeah.
Is it really something that's good for these characters? I mean this as a total compliment, but it captured something only, I feel like, the original Willy Wonka had, where there is a sense of danger to the excitement and wonder. You know what I mean? I'm not saying...
yeah, sure. I guess I know what you mean. A little disagreement, but yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, listen, it's not like the boat scene in Willy Wonka that's like an actual, bad trip gone wrong, But there was something to that. The music was so dramatic and old-fashioned, but twisted in some way.
There's something weird about it that gives you,
There's
something off here.
Forebodingness to it. Steiner, of course, also worked with Bogart on Casablanca and is no stranger to great projects on his own. His additions to this were a serious highlight for me. I thought this was an excellent score for what purpose it served to this spiraling atmosphere of the film. I mean, I think it was really excellent. Honestly, folks, I would say I'm ecstatic to say that this lived up to the hype, though, for me. I don't know. What did you think?
I liked it. It was hard for me to walk away saying I loved it.
Really? Okay.
I don't know what it was exactly. Maybe it was just too much hype that I was walking into.
Okay.
Maybe it was that it took... We're in the city for a bit. I don't know. I liked this film.
Sure.
I really did. I liked this film. I liked the darkness and grittiness of it. It
reminded me a little bit of Sorcerer as well, which we covered
I
not
got
too
Sorcerer.
long
Yeah,
ago.
I got some Sorcerer vibes, too.
Yeah, it's what man will do for $1 in sweat.
Yeah. It just was tough for me to walk away loving this as much as maybe a Red River impacts me or something like that.
Okay.
Different stories, of course,
sure.
But it's more so just the film itself, how it punches, how engaged I am. I liked it. I sat there through the entire thing, didn't really move, so I was engaged with it.
Sure.
But maybe I felt like areas went too long, maybe things went too far.
Okay.
I do think the length was playing something for me.
Interesting.
But other than that, I really did enjoy myself. And I don't know who I liked the most. At times, I was like, is Humphrey, I like Bogart. Is he selling me as some phenomenal great actor?
Oh, okay.
I actually was having a little bit of that. I kind of liked maybe the other two guys more at times, not just because Bogart was an annoying character. So I had some mixed feelings throughout it, but overall I come away very positive. I will watch this again.
Yeah.
One day.
Yeah. This is also a movie I would show someone as well, as far as like... You want to see, kind of a slippery slope of what these characters go through.
Yeah. I don't want to shit on it. It's just it's tough for me to give it the praise that it does get. I'm just not in that camp.
Sure.
But I did enjoy myself.
Sure. I think for me, it was just how clear the stakes and the theme of the film were set up and how much our characters follow those footsteps. The first half of this movie is really kind of just... almost setting up the dominoes that are going to get knocked down, but I think for me, what really went above and beyond was just like how much they followed in those footsteps, how much those dominoes were knocked down, and how much our characters are twisted by the stakes and the themes that are set up. This story also just kept evolving and adding more to the stakes and more layers of complexity, all oriented towards showing these men's bottomless desire. I honestly can't point to a single common thread of the must-watches on the website. If I had to pin one down, it might just be focus. The focus this had towards its theme of greed honestly affected me as much as a great, like There Will Be Blood, like a modern movie about greed. And I can't tell you how rarely that happens. I really do think this is the strongest Western we've covered so far. Woo! The Treasure of Sierra Madre, 1948, gets an 86.
Wow, an 86%. Yeah. Vincent Daly.
I think it's absolutely a must-watch.
We've got a big boy alert, and 86 a must-watch.
Yeah. I think this is really fantastic.
I love it. You enjoyed yourself very much.
I really did. I'd watch this almost any day, just because I kind of want more to kind of track Bogart's sliding down into madness. I don't know. I was kind of blindsided by how crazy he got so quickly. I want to pay attention to him specifically in the first act a little bit more and see, what are those
how shifty
unhinged?
is he?
Yeah, exactly. What are those unhinged elements?
Wow. Listen, again, I enjoyed myself. I was not as hot for sure than this, but man, 86% lived up to the reputation.
Yeah, I mean,
Against
obviously,
a lot of odds, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is largely referred to as like a perfect movie, on top 100 lists of like almost everything you'll find.
And
so,
hey, if we watched this 50 years ago,
yeah,
it probably could be, but we are watching in 2025.
That's a very good point. Watching this in the 40s probably would have like blown my mind in the sense of like how dark it is.
Not Bogart, but yeah. I couldn't have to get a nomination.
Not the Academies, yeah. But it would have blown my mind because of how dark and unexpected it is. I mean, I think there's very similar type of stories now. Again, There Will Be Blood is kind of a similar arc of just like madness through riches.
Right.
But there's something really special here. I loved it.
I mean, it's a great story of gold fever, too. I mean, I know that's like a small theming that does happen with film, but an 86%... All we're doing, I'm loving that we're stepping back here, even the John Wayne stuff or the Western, or once in a while dip into the 40s. The 40s is a hot decade for us.
Yeah.
And I know like Quentin Tarantino always says, oh, the 30s and 40s are great. The 50s suck. The 80s suck, but the 70s, the 90s, it's all good.
Yep.
And who's really going back in those old decades to agree or disagree, to actually get a mark on, to get a feel for the decade?
Yeah.
We're doing that slowly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it be through Westerns, a little Hitchcock and everything. It's great. The fact that a 1948 movie holds up still with an 86%. Very exciting. And where can we watch this? Was this a rent on Amazon?
Yeah, this was a rent on Amazon. I actually wound up buying it because I really do love it. I didn't have a chance to watch it a second time.
It was on sale. I think I bought it too, actually.
Oh, yeah? I unfortunately was an idiot and then rented, then bought. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was just something to... I think John Huston, there's something magical there.
We got to watch more Huston.
I really do think,
he's directed a lot. Like, I'm sure he's got some stinkers in there.
Yeah.
Just by the number of films that dude made.
Yeah, absolutely. I know what you mean. Because it's like, how can he keep this up? But
it's a big catalog.
Just based off of Moby Dick and now this, I have a lot of interest in his career. And let's, once again, folks, look at it for yourself. His first movie, though, is Maltese Falcon with Bogart, a classic, if not the classic noir. He was actually going to do this movie as his second film right after that, but went into serving in World War II.
What a guy.
Yeah, what a guy,
This guy becoming one of our favorite people of all time.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the thing. Like, John Ford is actually an asshole. Like, I don't like John Ford. I don't even like talking about John Ford too much when we talk about John Ford movies. He's like just too much of a not good character. This guy, though, John Huston, we're going to have to keep our eye on him.
We'll see. Well, I guess we maybe need more research. That's a lot of time to potentially be an asshole in Hollywood. But yeah, really something else. This was also, like, it's so beloved and such an old movie. There is endless amount of trivia and production notes. It was like one of the first movies to be filmed exclusively on location down in Mexico. There's a lot I could have honestly bloated that review with, but I wanted to focus on what meant something to me. Is again, it's a story about greed and it's a story about sinking into greed. And it was I loved it.
Well,
loved it.
And 86 is a great score, a great mark, and right there says a lot, folks. So check out this film if you're interested, and it's easy to find. So go check it out. Let's take a jump now 12 years in advance. We're in 1960. This is the Alamo. You picked this was your John Wayne pick for the week. I was.
You were a little nervous.
I was nervous about it. I know the reputation of the film,
okay,
which is, it's not bad. It's okay.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And, this is John Wayne's, I think, really his only true directing credit. Even you brought up on podcast, Vin, how John Wayne has uncredited directing roles.
Yes.
And the reason why is there was multiple times in Wayne's career that the director was out of commission, was sick, and John Wayne would have to come in and complete things or carry on with the directing duties just because he was a pro, you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
He knows what he's doing on set.
Yeah.
So the concept for this started, I believe, in the mid-40s, or it was 1948, where John Wayne approached... Who was the writer again?
James Edward Grant?
Yes, James Edward Grant, who wrote Angel and the Bad Man from last week. John Wayne hired him for the writing role. The two of them in the late 40s together started doing research on the actual Alamo, reading up on it for historical practices or for historical reasons. They hired John Ford's son to also help with research.
Oh, okay.
It was going to be shot with a production company, which I can't remember. John Wayne asked for too big of a budget. They got cold feet, so that John Wayne left them, and him and Grant went and actually started Backjack Productions, which is John Wayne's production company then from that.
Okay.
He wasn't allowed to take the script with him, and that original script was kind of turned into another movie that no one ever talks about now. I forget the name of it.
That's kind of interesting, though. I'm curious about what that would be.
Yeah. Now, I'm assuming they kind of got relatively the same script. Him and Grant worked together.
Also, the historic aspect of it.
Right. John Wayne didn't want to star in it at all.
Oh, okay.
But
still wanted to direct.
But the money, all he wanted to do was direct.
Oh, interesting.
And but the big money behind it needed his face in the movie for money purposes. So then he was just going to play kind of a bit part. There's the main general. Is it Sam Houston? It's got to be Sam Houston.
Okay.
Wow, I'm blanking. But anyway, and then that was too small of a role. So then he was just like, all right, I guess I have to be Davy Crockett, which he didn't want to be Crockett at all.
Well, I think he does a great job of Crockett.
Well, it's a long movie. I mean, it's
really long.
2 hours and 42 minutes. I will set up the set. They spent about 2 years making this set.
Okay.
And at the time, it was said it was the most accurate set ever built for a film.
Interesting.
The bricks that were handmade, they planted the plants for 2 years beforehand so they could naturally grow in the natural habitat.
Wow.
You have the Alamo building, which was the exact replica, and then the outskirts of the building, the main grounds of the Alamo, was built to 3/4 actual scale or something like that. Over 2,000 bricks were handmade, whatever. Huge production, a lot of money into it. John Wayne did another mortgage on his house. He put his cars up for collateral. That brings us to 1960. They make the picture. He is Davy Crockett, which is crazy. Vin, get us into the Alamo.
Well, folks, I ask, do you remember the Alamo? Because over the last century, there has been 8 total movies about the siege of the Alamo in 1836. And sadly for this week, my research has shown that we chose the least historical accurate version. Apparently, the consultants and historians that were on this project asked for their name to be removed.
I didn't read that part.
Yep.
I did not read that part.
And shockingly, out of all these Alamo adaptations, believe it or not, the crown for most historically accurate goes to the Billy Bob Thornton one from 2004.
No, God. Yep. I'll tell you what, there's some people...
I remember owning that on DVD at some point in my childhood.
Acting. There's some bad acting in that
apparently
movie.
Very historically accurate. I don't know.
Well, that makes me sad. It makes me want to see this original script, honestly.
Yeah, maybe a little closer. But hang on, because not only is our boy John Wayne the titular Davy Crockett, but it is one of his only movies he's direct, like we've been talking about. Like you just said, Tom, he's collabing once again with James Edward Grant, who we covered last week. And if you've been following Western Month over the podcast and over the years, that can be a complicated juggling act, but why I was interested to check it out. Often acting and directing leads to lopsided productions. And just take a look at Brando's One-Eyed Jacks 1 year later in 1961 for probably the most bloated film I've ever seen. For what has been called the most intensely personal project for his career, we had to cover this for Wayne Month. That's why I was excited, because, I mean, as an actor, I'm sure Wayne has been attached to projects. We talked a little bit about that in Cowboys, just like how attached he does get to the production and his different cast members, but this was on a different level, so really wanted to cover it. The Alamo is a Western epic, both in its runtime and subject matter. It takes what we know is the historical climax of the event and builds up the many lives involved. Over a grueling 13 days, Texan rebels attempt to hold the Alamo missionary from the looming Mexican forces of General Santa Anna. We enter this story after Jim Bowie had already taken the territory, played by Richard Widmark, and now shares control with Colonel Travis, played by Lawrence Harvey. The two leaders provide conflicting leadership on their sides of their ranks, but a third player is yet to arrive. Over the hill rides raccoon hat wearing Davy Crockett, played by John Wayne himself, and his gang of Tennesseans. Did you know Davy Crockett was like a U.S. representative? Like he was in government?
Yeah, I
did not know that.
Yeah, I was a big Crockett guy growing up. Davy Crockett, and Daniel Boone. Oh yeah,
interesting. Okay,
Daniel Boone also representative.
Interesting. Did not know that.
Crockett did it all.
Yeah. Wayne did it all. Crockett charges a morale among the men between his deceiving wisdom and homegrown values, and just maybe will be the reason why they hold out at all against the incredible odds at their front door. I'm extremely happy to say, Tom, John Wayne, I really do think, was the best part about this. I think he infused a lot of life into the story. I think I'm extremely shocked to say that I think some of the best touches are in the directing itself. I really mean
Wow.
it. I really mean it. Yeah. I think Wayne had both sides of the goods, both sides of the coin.
Before we recorded, folks, I made one comment to be like, the Alamo, not that great. And Vin was like, oh, I kind of enjoyed myself. I mean, we switched roles or something like that. I am utterly shocked to hear you say that and couldn't be happier.
Okay.
Couldn't be happier
I'm glad
to hear that come out of your mouth.
I'm curious your perspective on...
I thought, after 2 hours and 42 minutes, I thought you were drawing a warm bath and like getting the razor blades open. I don't hate this movie.
Sure.
Far too long, and I don't think Wayne was put in a great position.
Okay.
I don't really think he works as Davy Crockett, in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
This is in my opinion, some of like top 5 worst Wayne films that I've seen.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Very opposite.
I didn't dislike it. There are John Wayne films that I dislike.
Sure.
And for many reasons.
Yep.
I felt this was way too long in the tooth for the first 2 acts.
Okay.
Way too long. I thought interjecting the love story was just, I wasn't feeling this at all.
Sure, 100%.
I blame that a lot on the writer. So James Edward Grant, this guy's a lovey-dovey, I don't know, heartthrob. He does Angel and the Badman, which is a romance.
Bleeding heart.
He does Hondo, which is heavy romance.
Oh, okay.
He then has a big romance element in this.
Yes.
I'm shocked this guy does Comancheros. Comancheros, there's an argument that's in my top 5 favorite films of John Wayne. But boy, is it long. I feel like it's a little messy, and not necessarily because of John Wayne. It's a big production.
Yeah.
At times, there's a lot of actors, a huge amount of extras in this.
Yep.
But it's so long, I feel like we're meandering at times. Like for the first 2 hours of the film, I feel like we're meandering a lot. And it's tough for me to sink my boots in the sand and get excited for this romp, for this picture. Sure,
when you're waiting for a climax, you ultimately know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That is a little tough.
A little bit pulling teeth. And the thing is, I want the deeper beats to hit more. And what I'm supposed to be feeling in this movie, I'm not feeling. I'm not feeling in this.
Interesting.
He has some classic lines, even with the romance side of things. There's some famous quotes that come from this movie that people know from John Wayne.
Yep.
That's my overarching structure. I almost want to just stay quiet because I'm loving this praise.
Well, like I said, it's John Wayne specifically, and it's on both sides of the coin of acting and directing choices.
What about the acting did you like?
Well, listen, I think you can see his...
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
I think
I'm sorry.
I'm selling you.
You were in the chair of selling me on John Wayne. Boy.
Crazy.
The monster has come back and eaten me.
Yeah, exactly. What did you create?
But again, I didn't hate Wayne, but I'm dying to hear your thoughts here.
So I think you can see a lot of his monologues about freedom. They're a bit much. There is also, and I don't want to get into it, but there's also a long-running thread that this was a weird political move for Wayne to possibly go into politics himself. So that's where there's a lot of these monologues for the birds, truly for the birds. Everyone's dead, both in the Alamo and in real life. But honestly, I thought he was great because of how he infused life into what I kind of knew, it's destination known. We're on rails to what the Alamo is. And the shades of Wayne's real life persona, I felt kind of came through to fill in who a legend like Davy Crockett might be. Now, obviously not the most historically accurate, I'll say that, and I'm not even knowing the history behind it, but I love that we get a little bit of Wayne's personality here. It feels not in the way of him having to be a cowboy. It feels like Wayne proper. We get a little bit of his brand of poetry. I can't really call it poetry. It's just his brand of poetry. But how that plays into the quote-unquote homespun wit and Cracker Barrel philosophy of the real Crockett, I think was an interesting match.
Oh, that's okay. See, I think I'm on the opposite of that.
Oh, okay.
I think I would have liked, if this was made in the 40s, like in 1948, around Red River time, I think I would have liked it better with a younger, skinnier, thinner, maybe a little bit more raw Wayne.
Okay. Here,
he's got some age. He's starting to get a little bit of weight on him as we get into 60s Wayne.
Sure.
He's very distinct in his decade. And I think maybe I wanted to see more of Crockett and less of the Duke. Believe it or not, it's funny we're coming from different elements there.
Yeah, I think Crockett is such a legendary Western figure for me. And again, sideline. I'm unlike you. I'm not really I don't really know his history through and through, other than maybe I don't know, like an 8th grade history that I took. There was something there of just he filled in the outline of who Crockett was.
I like that,
and I feel like there is not only life to what he brings to the table, but I enjoyed his monologues. I think there was something there that I was like, wow, this guy talks like a legend, a little bit.
Yeah.
So filmmaking-wise, I think there is a playfulness that I think for a lot of people wanting maybe a realistic or even a gritty Alamo depiction, as it is a grim event, that might have been a turnoff. I think the playfulness here is way ahead of its time. I kid you not. I get some serious Spielberg vibes from the first half of this movie. It's in the soundtrack, it's in the adventure, it's in the brevity to the comedy.
Yeah, I like the composer on this, by the way.
Yeah.
Dimitri Tompkin or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. It feels every now and again a little bit Indiana Jonesy in its adventure.
Okay.
And again, maybe that could be seen as tasteless to ultimately what we know the Alamo is. There was something there. There is a brevity. There is a lightness to it that I'll get into my problems with the movie, which is pretty much just runtime. But as far as Wayne's directing choices, I think he's a little bit of the head of the curve here. I feel like this represents a Western blockbuster we would get in the 90s.
Wow.
There's something to it here.
Okay. That's amazing to hear. I will say while watching it, what I'm really happy about, honestly, I didn't come away hating it. And most importantly, I didn't come away hating John Wayne's directing style.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of just like, oh no, what if he's just a shit director?
Sure.
There's a couple even scenes that lighting is used really cool. There's one where his right-hand man gets very bad news. And at one point, there's 3 people kind of coming in and out of darkness and light.
Yep.
Really good.
Yes.
I actually really
Super
dig
interesting.
that.
Yeah. The scale of fights. It's not like Waterloo scale, but there's numbers. You see some money on this production. I think that goes to your notes about recreation and passion in the project, you know?
By the way, I think the set remained and other films used it to film there.
Wow.
Or shows
it was like that authentic as the Alamo. Wow. But I'm telling you, there is 2 sides to the coin as far as who's involved in this, and I think Wayne hits both. Maybe there's an argument historically, again, that this is if you're really attached to the history side of what the Alamo represents and whatnot, this could be almost unacceptable. Its tone of playfulness.
Let's call it popcorn liberties.
Sure.
The guy's just trying to make a
popcorn
movie.
Freedom.
Yeah,
But I'm telling you, this feels like a Western that would be made in late 80s to the 90s.
Wow.
And I'll get into what I was thinking in that comparison in just a second.
Okay.
But let's talk about runtime, because I do think it does work heavily against this. For my money, and right in line with what you said, Tom, I think the small notes of romance just could have been cut. Wayne has a little romance, and then there are the connecting relationships of what we know will not be making it through the Alamo, or who we know will not be making it through the Alamo. Even though some of these mix of romance, it's the mix of adventure, comedy, and romance. That's certainly that blockbuster Spielberg quality I'm talking about. But the movie, it just feels like it's trying to be an epic, a little bit way too much, on top of the historical event. Much like big Westerns like Costner's Horizon Saga, unfortunately, that comes to mind where there are just so many characters brought into the story. I'm not saying there's not that many real people with real lives and real stories involved in this, but that runtime gets bloated with all these lives we're checking in on, and mainly it's these romance partners to these soldiers.
You can feel it. Almost at one point, you just want to be like, okay, you're really swinging here. But the problem is we can see you swinging.
Yeah, exactly.
Just chill out. We know you're trying to make it an epic.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the Alamo is epic enough.
Exactly.
That's the thing with the film, too. When I said the first 2 acts were rough for me.
Yep.
That runtime and the meandering, it's just, you have the epic right there.
Yes.
It's the Alamo. Give us the Alamo, please.
Absolutely. Where instead we get the lead up to the Alamo. Not even significant lead up, because I think you could have shown Jim Bowie and the Texas Revolution stuff. That could have been added in over the romance.
Right. Yeah.
But which apparently is what some people have problems with this movie. But
so there is, and I don't know if that's. Sorry, I did so much research on this.
Oh no, I feel it. This was a rabbit hole. There's a lot to this movie.
So John Ford was showing up on set and wanted to help Wayne. Like, he wanted to take over the reins a little bit here, there, and help Wayne. And Wayne wasn't having it. Wow. So he sent John Ford to do second unit directing, and then Wayne used none of it. Which I kind of liked, honestly.
I don't know. That's kind of a dick move, but
no, he might have used. I think he might have used some of it, but no, absolutely not. That's awesome.
Interesting.
When John Ford was this just curmudgeon, he ruled. You had to do what he wanted. He was an asshole.
Yep.
For John Wayne to stick in his boots and be like, no, this is my picture. I kind of want to do it my way.
Yep.
I think that's awesome.
Wow. Interesting. These runtime gripes are very ironic, because apparently the original theatrical cut of this was 202 minutes versus this version at 167 minutes. Researching this was like a lot of things around this, and a treasure for Sierra Madre as well. Like, there's just these are such old movies. There's
Big
so much production notes, so much trivia. Interesting thing with that is that the original cut of this film was briefly restored, but now that longer version has been completely lost to time. So, not that I was craving a longer version of this, but kind of interesting that even back then in the 60s, there was almost studio notes that they released a full theatrical cut, they pulled it back, and they made it shorter on the fly.
And there's been multiple attempts to recover that.
Yes.
And apparently now the original film, which was shot on 70 millimeter, apparently is just too destroyed to bring back to life.
Yeah. There was some restoration in the 90s, and then I guess that further deteriorated. Something on Laserdisc I read.
The act of trying to even mess it up even more. That sucks. And then there was an attempt, like big directors came out.
Yes,
what was it, 2011, 2014?
No, I think that's that original one.
No, there was another push, because J.J. Abrams was a part of it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
But apparently it's just dead.
Yeah. The takeaway, folks, buy your physical copies and care more about media preservation. Again, not that I wanted a longer version of this even slightly, but there's something to it there. There's a lesson. Okay, we are knee-deep in Western month, so it's time for a Western hot take. I didn't run this by you, Tom.
Oh, my God.
But maybe I hope this will kind of illustrate where I'm coming from on this one and where you were maybe lukewarm.
No, I'm loving it.
Watching this movie, I could not stop thinking about 1993's Tombstone. Both take big events, big Western shootout events, have a focus on building up larger-than-life movie characters and larger-than-life Western legends, and instead don't really have a focus on the historical accuracy for that reason. Critically speaking, a great story should have both, but at the same time, I don't think a more blown-out style to this genre is a bad thing. I personally love how Hollywood it feels adapting these Western legends, because frankly, that is in essence of how these stories have been carried over time. Wild West and Gunslinger roadshows being a medium for telling the stories in a glorified way. I don't have a problem with more cartoony or stylized glorified Westerns, and that's where I would the double header is this and Tombstone, because they're not really historically accurate, but I still think they're a great time. They're a great Western. Now, we don't have Tombstone. I don't think we have Tombstone on the website, right?
Great question. I think we might.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess my foot may be in my mouth in case that has a bad score. My point I'm trying to get across here is I really don't have a problem with a genre as big as Westerns having some range in style and tone, even when dealing with a historic matter. And you can perfectly see that from our two movies this week. I mean, really total opposite Westerns.
Oh, yeah.
And while it might not be one for the history nerds, there is no doubt John Wayne respected what he was adapting and brought genuine passion to the project. We're going to go ahead and give The Alamo 1960 a 68.
A 68 will... the classic Tom score.
That's the classic Tom score.
I love it. Wow. Vin, honestly, Vin...
you get where I'm coming from, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, no argument. If you're saying positive things about that, I just no argument.
I want you to be, if you're on the other side of it.
No. First of all, I like that a lot because also Tombstone, you go back and watch it as an adult, it's actually not as good.
Right.
But it depends what lens you're trying to watch it in.
It's enjoyable.
Everything you just said, I'm in. I'm down.
Sure.
Okay, I'm on your side with that. You won me over.
Good. With my Western hot take.
I can't tell you how shocked I am that you like this film.
Yeah.
I'm truly shocked.
The thing is, it was so boring for a point, and then Wayne comes on screen, and he's just like, he's doing these crazy monologues, and he has life in him. Davy Crockett has life in him, and the Tennesseans are like all, they're riled
Ragtag
up.
And yeah.
I think that was the best part.
Damn. Okay. 68% for the Alamo.
You gotta to illustrate that for once we're on the different sides.
I'm not going to go to two shoes. It won't even have that much punch because I didn't hate it.
Sure,
it was too long for me, and maybe it didn't help that I had to separate watching.
Yeah,
I don't think that helped.
Okay. And you haven't seen this before either.
No.
So there's no nostalgia. There's no, I remember when I first watched this type of thing with other Wayne.
You don't
films.
have any of that.
Yeah.
And to be honest with Wayne, I didn't watch John Wayne as a kid. I got into John Wayne early teens.
Sure.
So I did have some sort of perspective. You know what I mean? I mean, you could say that. Yeah, no, definitely. So it's not just like, I remember when I was 6 and I was watching this, or 8 and 9 can be formidable years.
Yep.
No, nothing. It was. I tried to have some perspective at least when I started watching Wayne. Regardless, 68, The Alamo. Let's leave it at that. If you're into seeing something with a great set piece, and exactly what Vin just said, I think it then is worth a watch. Again, easy to find, easy to rent.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, go check it out. Yeah,
and also, there's something too, like the spectrum of Westerns. Like, again, just our two movies this week, drastically different.
Yeah.
I think stylistically as well, there's a huge spectrum on Westerns. You have on, like, totally cartoony, might as well be an anime, like Quick and the Dead with Leo.
Right.
And Gene Hackman, like that's as cartoony as you can get, or Rango even.
Sure.
And then there's ultra historical, like Hostiles or Alamo 2004. Apparently, I haven't seen it, but so I mean, I think there's just it's not so often Western is summarized as one thing where you wouldn't do that with sci-fi, you wouldn't do that with romance,
No, it's true. You're right. Western means a lot more than just Western.
Exactly.
Not to mention, you can put in There Will Be Blood. You can put in No Country for Old Men as a modern-day Western.
Absolutely.
Very good. No complaints over here. No complaints. And honest, and what you pulled the trigger on that, and there's not many John Wayne Westerns that I haven't seen in the main catalog.
Sure.
Obviously, I haven't seen a lot of the 30s stuff. I haven't seen a lot of the B movies in the, what I mean, in those 30s. But I've seen a lot of his films, not this one yet, so I'm glad we ticked it off the list. Folks, before we get on to the movie now in theaters, we just want to remind everybody that Vin and I are completely producer-supported. The Daily Ratings is listener-supported here. We're not advertising-based. We don't have paywalls. We don't have tier structures. We don't force you to give a certain amount of money to get extra content. We're not in that game because everybody's finances are something different, even on a weekly basis. So we rely solely on donations from the listeners. And when you donate into the Daily Ratings, you're an actual legitimate credited producer of the Daily Ratings. Just like in Hollywood, when you financially support a project, you're a producer of the project. So go to thedailyratings.com and head to the donations tab, and everything right there is laid out for you. We do have some set donations, like buy Vin a movie ticket, Gump Club or Space Odyssey donation, but there's the big value for value button there. Because if you're finding what we're doing valuable, if you're stopping in at the podcast, having a good time, if you're using the website, we look at that as value in your pocket. Can you send us value back in our pocket? It's value for value. The cool thing about that, you can peg whatever number you want, whatever finances you've got going on, or whatever the value is you're getting. Whether it's $5 this week or $50, $500, you can do any number or any combination of numbers that you want. So when you become a producer by donating in, don't forget to send in along a producer note. This can be questions, comments, critiques, start a conversation, add to a conversation, ask us anything, whatever. When you produce, we want to bring you into the conversation because that's what being a producer is all about. Again, head to thedailyratings.com, go to the donations tab, and it's all right there for you. With that, Vin, let's go to... We're rebirthing this story again. Dominion.
Rebirthing the episode.
Yeah, what was it, Dominion 2 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe 3 years ago? It doesn't matter. Too soon is the answer.
Yeah, too soon.
Too soon.
Right.
Scarlett Johansson always wanted to be a part of the Jurassic Park films.
Oh, really?
She asked to be in them previously.
Interesting.
And here she is. She basically begged, apparently, to be a star in this one.
Could have fooled me.
Yeah, could have. Well, and also, she didn't do it for
phoning it in.
Didn't do it for free either. Now that she's the highest paid actor of all time.
Yeah. I mean, that
This
really.
year,
it's why I tuned into the news show because I wanted to see what was the peaks of the box office on this one. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's doing well. I mean, listen, dinosaurs do really, really well. As long as it's not 65 or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Regardless, though, this is a proper relaunch. I do believe Universal wants to do a trilogy out of this, but there isn't much trilogy talk, and it's not like there's an actual, and it's not a spoiler, but it's not.
There's not hooks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It didn't exactly
There's
set
not
itself
hooks.
up for this amazing trilogy we're about to see, much like the Chris Pratt ones did
Yeah.
So we're back at it. Jurassic World: Rebirth, directed by Gareth Edwards, who did work on Rogue One, which we have a lot of respect for
sure.
Who also did The Creator, which you liked elements of.
Yeah.
And he also did Godzilla 2014, which is a low-key hate movie for me personally.
I thought that was Skull Island.
No, Skull Island is a hate watch.
By the way, this has some Skull Island vibes.
It's a little bit.
The monsters.
But no, it's funny. Somebody brought that up to me. They're like, did it feel like Skull Island to you?
Oh,
when
interesting.
They went to the island, and I was like, no, I hate
Yeah,
that
hopefully
movie.
not. You really hate that movie.
Godzilla 2014, I watched with you. We were at our buddy's cabin.
Really?
And I was frustrated with that movie. Anyway, I'll stop talking
Cranston aside. Yeah.
I can't tell you how annoying that was for
Interesting.
me. Listen, Jurassic World Rebirth, we are rebirthing the franchise again. We're bringing it back to life. You get into it, kind of what it's about. We'll take it back and forth.
Sure. Well, I will say, on a similar note to last week's comment about Joseph Kosinski, our director here, Gareth Edwards, is someone I dig a lot, but who's got to deliver on their new projects. In case you're not aware, Edwards is a VFX guy first turned director, which, believe me, I think we need more of that. The pairing of directors. If someone can actually do some previs themselves.
Someone actually cares.
Yeah. I think that'll make a more cohesive project the more and more CGI is really incorporated in it.
And that's one thing you really loved about 2014 Godzilla.
Yes.
Was you liked the look of Godzilla.
Yep.
And as far as the creator goes, you weren't really feeling the movie all too much. You love the visuals.
Absolutely, yeah. I would say all of the examples of Edwards' work are visually stunning as the highlight. Maybe that's all it has to go on, but visually stunning. So, jumping to this franchise, honestly, felt like a survival move for Edwards, however. After 2023's The Creator squeaked only a small profit as an original IP, latching on to another big franchise, honestly, is his comfort zone. But listen, I'm rooting for the guy. Even go back to my Creator review a few years back, I was torn on giving it a higher score. I wanted to like that movie a lot more. I just question if he chose the right franchise to jump to as kind of a lily pad, considering JP has been milked dry. And let me tell you, it is sure as hell confusing when the script operates like an Alien movie that just lost its rated R rating. So I don't understand why this was the project he jumped to. Jurassic World Rebirth is really a joke in its own name, but is indeed a rebirth, basically continuing the Jurassic consequences of the JW trilogy while simultaneously brushing them aside. 5 years post-dino outbreak, the chaos has been quelled by these genetic replicas dying off due to Earth's climate. Relegated to the most tropical points of the equator, dinosaurs, both real and manufactured, now populate a DMZ of sorts that no human in their right mind wants to go to. That is until Big Pharma wants to put together a team to hunt down 3 mutated monstrosities that are the apex of their respective domains in hopes of creating a wonder drug. Our crew is a colorful mix of morality and skin in the game, now heading to the illegal equator zone filled with countless creatures looking to tear them to shreds. And only further complicated by a stranded family that wants no part in this expedition. This is no ordinary part of the zone, however, as it relates to an experimental InGen facility and predictably dirty secrets that should never have been uncovered. Where am I? Walking into this,
Yes.
I thought David Koepp's writing. Writing
can't
for
forget
this.
him, by the way.
Yeah, for real.
Original writer of Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Also,
And a lot of other stuff.
needs to take a break.
Yeah, exactly.
David needs to take a break, Koepp. I feel like walking into this stupid joke. Walking into this, I really honestly didn't think his involvement would make that much of a difference. If anything, I thought it would just lead us to kind of more trashy callbacks to the original, which we got a little bit of that, but that's honestly what sunk the last movie for me in the series, where we had A team is Jurassic World, B team is Jurassic Park crew, and it's like they're in conflict, and it's like this is an absolute mess. But still, even though it's one writer, this is surprisingly messy. Messy to the point that, unless I knew otherwise, I would have guessed this had 4 writers on it and a heavy wave of studio notes. It's almost too much to unpack in a spoiler-free review. But
it's almost 2 movies, if you really think about it.
Yeah, for
That's
real.
what you're trying to say.
Squished together. Nearly every character in this is shorthanded or cliched to death. I think for the real meat of it, Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali's characters particularly suffer in this department, considering there are 2 of our 3 big leads, presumably 2 of our 3 big leads that are going to have a sequel structured around them. And pretty much any dialogue around their backstory feels just extremely stilted and like it belongs to a different edit of the film entirely. I'm serious, folks. The amount that Scarlett Johansson is smiling in this feels like there are entire scenes of context missing. Like, I don't understand why she's smiling so much. It's either she's phoning it in or there's a different cut out there that is... I don't know. Giving more context to why she's smiling so much.
And smiling, and sometimes just too... here's the thing with Scarlett Johansson is that she really is a great actress.
Sure.
I mean, you look at her in that horrible Fly Me to the Moon movie, but
Right.
she's cooking in that movie.
Yeah, kind of saving it.
Like, she's really cooking.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's not dialed in the right spot. So she's acting really well, but maybe don't be doing that right now type of deal, or don't be overdoing it. She's not always dialed in because she can go in so many directions, as we've seen her do. It just seems like, well, okay, chill. Let's have this reaction first, or let's deal with this. And she's a little too all over the place. She's a little too easygoing. And I just smiley, yes.
But same with
And also-
Mahershala, it's the acting is all over the place, and I think it's on the script or it's on the writing.
I think it's the writing comes out of a lot of it. Honestly, because I don't come away with this frustrated with Edwards or whatever. What's his name?
Edwards.
Yeah, Edwards. You know what I mean? Like, are you? No. I'm not annoyed by him. I am annoyed by this script and the acting. Really,
I'm annoyed by the people over the dinos, which is the exact opposite of what fan sentiments are on this. I haven't looked at other critics or anything like that. I've stayed away from that, but fans are upset it's not enough of a dino movie.
That's not
not
a horrible critique.
Yeah. But for me, it's the people, and the people were soulless. Absolutely soulless.
I had issues with Scarlett.
Yeah. Really, really rough. This B Squad family that's thrown into the story feels like the worst parts of JP3 come back to haunt the series. It is really unbelievable that they would make these mistakes again, especially Koepp. And it's just blatant theme park tie-in fodder. Like, I'm sorry to say if this is semi-spoilering, but like, this family is not really in any sort of danger. And once you know that and you look at the roster, you can really start picking apart, like, who's going to be the fodder for the dinos
Yeah,
here.
we can pick at that point,
Yeah, and maybe that's every Jurassic Park, to be fair.
By minute 35.
Yeah. But there's just a moment
some of those
where...
guys might as well just have red shirts on.
yeah, absolutely. This is total red shirt territory. There's just, there's something there that it felt, that side of it, this family plot being thrown in. Again, it feels like a mistake that JP3 made, Jurassic Park 3, and it just felt a little bit manipulative to, have theme park type of tie-ins. It was
it was forced, the way they had to stitch it together, the way the things had to come together.
Yep.
It felt at times was two movies, and it is a little bit from the master himself who did the first one. What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you
Can we
doing?
do this? Honestly, can we just do it in a more respecting our intelligence kind of way?
Yeah, a little bit.
You're feeding us porridge, you know? I mean,
Porridge that we've had before.
Yeah.
The reheated. And honestly, for better or worse, the fact that this feels like an Alien movie really shows just how this script could have been for almost any big franchise. It just happens to be a Jurassic Park movie. That structure of team goes into the zone, sees a couple monsters, big monster throws things out of whack. It could have been a Predator, could have been an Alien, definitely could have been an Alien movie. I mean, there's times on the boats where it's just like, I was thinking about your criticism of the Alien franchise, where it's like the forced crew chemistry, the around the table bullshit,
Now, I like boats. I didn't mind the amount of time we spent on the water.
No,
it was more than I thought.
Sure.
I think for me, what it comes down to is the script, and then, especially with the boat and stuff, the acting just wasn't there. And I was not buying Scarlett Johansson as a spec ops person, special operations person who's leading the charge in ways.
Yeah.
No, as she drinks her Heineken double zeros, like, oh my God, spare me. I mean, are you kidding me? Just like not the coolest character, not selling it at all.
That's so fun. I didn't catch that at all. Usually I'm real sharp with product placement, but
I saw the Heineken now, and then I was like, oh my God, the double zeros.
She's got to stay.
This is our tier 1 operator.
Got to stay sharp,
She has the easiest shot to make in the world, but she has to have someone come strap her in first, like a fucking baby in a stroller. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is the lamest ass thing I've ever seen.
It's great.
Oh.
But yeah, it's not all doom and gloom. I think luckily when we get to the island, we kind of settle into a semi-normal Jurassic Park story structure where, it's survival stakes, it's adventure, and it's our characters being on the bottom of the food chain. Personally, I think I enjoyed the set pieces around the 3 main big dinos they're hunting. Not to mention just liking the heist job structure of the mission to get the samples and get out. I feel like that was just like, all right, yes, it could have probably fit in anything, but I like that just
it's
type of source.
It's like video game objective.
Exactly. Yeah, it really is. One of the biggest fan controversies, though, was that are these dinosaurs or are these sci-fi monsters? And they definitely lean towards monstrosities. Personally, I'm kind of all right with that because Jurassic World 1 ripped the Band-Aid on that topic a long time ago, both like in universe lore of like these aren't dinos anymore, but also like just like what they were throwing out. What was in Jurassic World? They had like Coca-Cola branded dinosaurs or some shit like that.
Yeah.
These spliced dinosaurs, though, do kind of work for me because in a filmmaking sense, they can make action or suspense scenes feel a bit fresh, despite it being the 7th entry in the series. In some cases, we get remixed versions of classic scenes, such as like the raptors in the kitchen or the big long necks being the money shot in the field. Most of the big moments around these 3 main dinos, you can tell they wanted to do something new with it. And I think that's to your point. We spent a lot of time in the water for that first one. That was refreshing.
It was refreshing.
Nice.
Hey, but it was different. It wasn't just like, let's get the helicopter shot going to the island with the score over top.
Absolutely.
We had a little bit something different.
Yeah, a little bit something there. So I think that there is a slight glimmer there in like a popcorn kind of way that I felt like the entertainment and just how they structured, if anything, like you said, in a gamey way.
Yeah.
How they structured these events around, okay, we're kind of setting up the villains or we're setting up the dinos for later payoffs. So there was something there that I was kind of all right with.
Yeah, can I say, we both were laughing at the end of this, and we weren't laughing at the movie. We were laughing at the fact that we didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Vin was just like, "What do you think?" And I couldn't. My jaw was on the floor for the fact that I couldn't believe that I'm walking away from it, being like, "Oh, that was okay."
Yeah.
So
maybe it's some razzle dazzle at the end. I don't know, but I'm with you. There was like.
I didn't check my watch once. I couldn't believe it.
Interesting.
Not that it had me, but it kept me. Can we say that? David kept me a little bit.
David kept. That's the joke.
And so, naturally, the instinct is to shit all over this.
Yeah.
Which there's plenty to do that because almost everything about it is lackluster. Mm-hmm. That being said, okay, I might throw it on again. I would probably throw this on before any of the Chris Pratt ones.
Interesting.
I didn't even want to. I only watched the first Chris Pratt one.
Sure. And I know,
and it gets worse after that.
It really does.
So,
that second one is like, what is this movie? That's two movies put together.
So I'm just saying there is spectacle here.
Yeah.
Gareth Edwards did a good job as far the visuals were good. I'm not gonna go and say I was fawning over of how great it looked.
Okay.
Or like the dinosaurs and everything like that. But this was shot on film.
Yeah.
Not digital.
Interesting.
Which was shocking to me.
Yeah.
So regardless, okay. So it could have been worse. It could have been worse.
Yeah, I'm with you, though. I think there are, not highlights, but there are something that makes this more acceptable than a Jurassic World 2.
There you go.
It also is limited heavily by arguably the most important piece of any movie or any story is the characters directly, and I'm talking like the main characters at that. I feel like there's more natural and believable development in this B-plot family that's on the island than our main cast that's going to be the backbone of whatever comes of this, you know, after such a successful weekend. But I think my main issues are, it's just not going to be the issues that everyone has a problem with over this movie. Honestly, there are a wide range of scores I considered for this one. There's probably like a 30-point range I considered on this one. I was really seriously. I was late to recording tonight. I was still like mulling over what am I going to give it. Absolutely, because I feel like it's just how much do you put weight into, I don't know, fundamentals like characters. That's not like a thing you can really miss and be considered a good movie. But at the same time, I was walking away like you, like, okay, I mean,
dinosaurs on screen.
Yeah, definitely not the worst Jurassic Park.
Right.
So I don't know where I land. Again, my problem is characters. They feel soulless. They have forced chemistry, such forced chemistry that it's almost painful to see them interact on screen. And I just truly have no idea if that blame falls on the editing cut, possible studio notes, or most embarrassingly, our seasoned writer, David Koepp.
Bingo.
It also seems like the fan issues are all around it not being enough of a dinosaur movie and wiping the slate clean on 3 whole films that feel irrelevant moving forward. The only thing I am sure about is moving forward. Moving forward, folks, is exactly what this is going to do. Tom and I might not have stuck around to see if there was a post-credit scene, but if the box office talks, and as money does talk, we will be seeing Scarlett and her phony smile in no time. We're going to go ahead and give Jurassic World Rebirth a 56.
Okay, yeah.
56%. Yeah. For a while, it was a 46.
I mean, honestly,
but
before the movie started, I was thinking this could easily be 30s.
Yeah.
Honestly. And I think I'm kind of right there with you.
Yeah.
The fact that it's a mid-50s is what I was shocked that it was that good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, listen, it's a spectacle. I definitely think if you have kids, they're going to enjoy themselves a ridiculous amount.
Our theater enjoyed themselves a ridiculous amount, even like comedically, which was just totally unexpected.
Yeah. And honestly, when it comes on, it's Universal. So what app is that? Is it Peacock?
Maybe.
That's got to be Peacock. Yeah. So regardless, when it comes on Peacock, I might throw it on again. It looks good.
Not the Alamo, though.
So 56% for Jurassic World Rebirth. I just think, it's going to make money financially or come close to it or do fine.
I think we're already past that.
The question is, I don't think it didn't make money yet.
No?
I will say the budget was only $180 million.
Yeah, no, aren't we at like,
We're at like $350.
That's money.
Well, we're getting there.
I think that's money.
Not with the marketing budget on it.
Yeah, true.
But if you think about it, I thought I could have sworn this just would have been $250 million. And the dinosaurs and this, whatever. 180? They could easily, the next one could be 220. I just like, man, can we treat it like the Dark Knight? Can we get like a Nolan-esque figure in there? Does Denny need to come in?
No, please. I'm already nervous about Bond. Like, no.
Oh, man.
I'm with you, though. I mean, I think, well, that's the thing. You would think David Koepp is that secret sauce. You say, oh, he's the original.
Oh, my God.
But this was on another planet.
It is tough. When you find out that it is him, it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll see what happens in the future. We're going to get another one. We're still doing the podcast, so we'll cover it here live.
Yeah, we'll be there.
But, there's jungle, there's water. It looks nice, 56%. Go check it out if you got nothing better to do, even though Superman is coming to save the day.
Yeah.
Vin, looking at all these scores, anything you want to add on, touch on, talk about next week? What's up?
Well, next week we are going to be taking a break from the Westerns, which I'm glad we got kind of two super interesting ones to talk about this week. Just a lot to unpack there. But it is going to be Superman week. I am so excited for this week. I've never seen the Christopher Reeves Supermans, all the original 4.
Same, yep.
So it's like, I don't know. If I had to explain it, it's like I've watched every franchise, especially now this deep in the podcast, and to not have seen these and to like
slip through the cracks,
watch them fresh. I mean, I don't know. I'm like super excited. I'm not even that much of a Superman fan, but it's just like I'm so excited. Those original 4 movies are Superman 78, Superman 2. Superman 3 and Superman 4 Quest for Peace. There are a lot of loose threads when it comes to that. I do want to maybe talk a little bit about The Death of Superman Lives, which is a documentary about what was going to happen post Christopher Reeves. And I do want to talk in some capacity about the Donner cut of Superman 2, which apparently is, what we lost was huge potential there. The new Superman is probably what I'm least excited about.
Yeah.
Because I'm really fed up of the Snyder Bros online, people that liked the old DCU, just absolutely trashing this for one reason or another. I also think James Gunn has done nothing but put his foot in his mouth on this press tour. Truly nothing but that. So it's like, I don't know. I honestly don't know what I want from the new Superman. All of my skin in the game is for the old
Yeah, I'm excited to watch these Chris Reeves. I always just hear about Superman 2.
Yep.
I'm dying to see it.
Yep.
And I've got zero, after the trailer came out, after like the final trailer for Superman came out with James Gunn, I couldn't be
less
not even excited because I was never excited for it. I am thinking I have zero. What's it called? I'm not even out of words.
Apathy.
Well, no,
I feel nothing towards it.
Yes, I feel nothing. There's none of me that thinks it's going to be a good. Oh, I know hope.
Sorry. Oh, you know what Superman's about? Hope.
Literally the word I was looking for. Zero hope.
This symbol on my chest, in my world, it means apathy.
I cannot tell you after watching that trailer how much more hope I had for Rebirth, which I had zero of for Rebirth. Yeah. How much more I had for that than I do Superman.
Oh, man.
Okay.
But yeah, super excited for next week.
Super excited for Superman.
It's going to be a lot of work, but I can't wait. So
excited.
Make sure you tune in.
Excellent, folks. Okay, well, Vin, thank you so much for watching these films, for stopping by here tonight. Folks at home, we'll run it down one more time. We've got The Treasure of the Sierra Madre with an 86%. We then have The Alamo with a 68%. And then we've got Jurassic World, Rebirth with a 56%. Folks, thank you so much week after week stopping by, hanging out with us. We'll see you Tuesday for the new show. And as always, we'll see you next here Thursday on the Daily Ratings Podcast. And hey, if you enjoyed the podcast, if you would, give us a good rating or get the word out and tell a friend about us. Just a reminder that Daily Ratings is completely producer-supported. We want to stay away from advertising, and we don't want to have any paywalls or tier structures or subscriptions. It's all just value for value. So, are you finding value in what we're doing here at the Daily Ratings? then become a producer and donate whatever amount of value that is. Just go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com, and while you're there, be sure to check out the massive amount of films that Vince has rated. So thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.